We have been looking for now several weeks at ways to improve that program. I wasn't satisfied with the early efforts in that regard, and so we're looking at different ways to achieve basically the same kind of strategic objective.
Secretary of Defense Ashton Carter in London earlier today announcing that the troubled and expensive U.S. military program to train and equip Syrian rebels will be overhauled. In the meantime, Syrian troops launched a major offensive on rebel forces, including U.S.-backed rebels, as the Syrians try to hang on to the country. For more, let's welcome in from Newsmax Washington, retired Air Force General Michael Hayden. He's currently a principal at the Chertoff Group, and on his resume, stints as director of both Central Intelligence and the National Security Agency. And Mike, before we get into Syria, I want to get your take on a report that says Hillary Clinton used her secret email server to send along the identity of one of the CIA's top Libyan intelligence sources. Your reaction to that report?
Well, JD, I've seen a copy of that email, and I've seen the apparent name redacted. It looks as if she received that name from someone else, and then it's likely that she then passed it on within the State Department, of course, using her own unclassified email network and her own server. JD, this just illustrates the point I think you and I have been trying to make all along. Once you set it up this way, you're headed for disaster. There's just no way of making this right. That name or identity or whatever's in that excise portion should never have been put in there. But then again, she's the one that set up her ability to receive these kinds of emails only through her unclassified server.
Let me briefly follow up. You used to run intelligence agencies. Do you believe our enemies are kind of licking their chops and trying to break in and monitor what she was doing?
Look, JD, you have to assume so. And in fact, in many ways, I would lose all respect for some of our counterparts out there, the Russian, Chinese, and other services, if they were not aware of this. And secondly, if they didn't go after it and go after it aggressively.
Now, let me turn to something else where we spent money aggressively, but with little to show for it, and that's the training and arming of Syrian rebels, overhauling the program. What do you think Ash Carter means by that? Will it just be spending less money or trying to be more effective? What's entailed in this?
Yeah, I've got a lot of respect for Secretary Carter. I really do. More respect, I think, for him than maybe some of the policy pronouncements coming out of the White House. So number one, JD, we're cutting our losses on a program that has badly failed. Number two, we're moving in a different direction, maybe training and equipping some of the militias that we can live with that are already there. But here's my great fear, JD. How many times in response to bad headlines have we seen announcements from this administration saying we're going to go do more of X, Y, or Z? And then things go silent until we get another bad headline, and then we hear headlines X, Y, and Z again. I just don't know if the administration has the stomach to do anything that's going to be really impactful on the Syrian battlefield.
Let me ask you about something else that would definitely have an impact. Russia making a very public request asking for our intelligence on ISIS. Thus far, we've ruled out that type of collaboration. Is it wise to keep that information from the Russians, or could there be some sort of involvement? About 30 seconds, Mike.
Yeah, JD, at the present time, absolutely not. Perhaps I don't rule it out if we have a convergence of interest sometime in the future, but our interests aren't converging. The Russians are there for different purposes than we are there. And so we do not need to be in the business of giving them targeting materials, uncertain if they will use them well, and use them in a way that's consistent with the laws of armed conflict.
General Michael Hayden, retired from the Air Force, but very much involved in national security. And of course, he knows whereof he speaks in terms of intelligence, having been the director of Central Intelligence as well as our National Security Agency. Mike, again, you have our thanks. Up next, the Vatican hosting a month-long synod focusing on the family. Our man in Rome, Edward Penton, will offer his insight, and that's straight ahead as we continue.